What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today, here with another tier list style video. However, this particular tier list is like not anything relating to, who's the best legend in the game. I just want to be talking about characters' abilities in general. This is a video inspired by my man Captain Papi, another host of the Good, Great, Perfect podcast. I'll leave a link to his actual YouTube video that he made down below in the video description. I'll probably leave it as a comment as well. He made a video talking about and just discussing, very similar to this, talking about which of the super type specials in the game are the best. And that's simply what it is. So this is all going to be my personal opinion, giving my thoughts and opinions on which of these super type specials I rank higher than each other. I'm not taking into consideration a character's captain ability or their special ability. We're just looking at the super type special. So, obviously a super type special may be good for that character, but if we're just looking on paper just of the super type special and the condition, obviously that might not be as good, when you take into consideration the other abilities. So that's what we're doing today. Let's start things off. We have the database here as well, and also massive shout out to OPTC-tier list for this website. So let's start off with Monkey D. Luffy, who's the first one. Personally, I think Monkey D. Luffy's like a tier 1. I don't think he's like ultra tier 0. Tier 0, I don't know who I'd actually put in tier 0. I think Luffy would be really close. He's really good because his condition is very easy to fulfill. A Straw Hat or Ace or Sabo, AoE damage, and then 2 times attack boost to all characters. Like, that's really good, especially because you got to remember that these super type specials cannot be interrupted by the enemy. Really, really good. And we're not going to take into consideration his special and his captain effect or anything, but just super type special. This is really, really good. It's a very nice unit to start things off with. The next unit after it is going to be Sabo. Sabo super type special is actually pretty good, but the problem here is his condition. Luffy or Ace, which is okay. Koala and Rebecca. I mean, there's a couple of good Rebecca legends and a couple of decent Rebecca units, but Koala does not really have that many good units. And it gives you a 1.25 chain multiply boost, very similar to Sanji Judge switch effect, so that's a pretty decent chunk of damage increase. And then 100 times his attack and tap timing bonus for 1 turn. We're not really going to talk about, super strength or anything like that, but just the effect. I think this is decent. I think 1.25 chain multiplier is pretty underrated by a lot of players because you can stack it on top of other chain boosting effects. And the tap timing bonus, it is what it is. I don't think it's anything too interesting. But I think it's just below Luffy in terms of how good it actually is. The condition is a bit of a downfall for me. I really don't like that at all. 1.25 times chain multiply boost is pretty nice though. And once again, if you take that into consideration what else the character does, yeah, that's actually really, really nice for that unit. I'm not a big fan of Sabo himself, but the super type special is actually pretty good. Now, Katakuri, this is an interesting one this is hard to rank because, the condition, you must be below 30%. I don't think it's as bad as what people say it is, but it does mean that you have to bring another dedicated unit that will get you that HP threshold. If not, you have to tank damage until you reach that HP threshold. So in terms of criteria, I think it's around middle of the road. I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's good either. I think it's kind of annoying. But then the actual effect itself, just delays all enemies for 1 turn that bypasses all immunity. I think it's good, but by itself on paper, just by itself on paper, I don't think it's that good. I'm going to rank it like maybe a tier 3. Tier 4 is bottom of the barrel and garbage is actually bad. So I think he's kind of middle of the road in terms of it can be good in some instances. You can use it in a defensive style usage, or you can use it offensively, of course, with conditional boosts. Depends on the way you use it. I think in general, just on paper, just the ability, it's just middle of the road. And I'm saying that as a Katakuri fanboy. I just think it's a little bit mid. But of course, once you take into consideration his other effects, it's really good. Let's have a look at the next one, which is Blackbeard. Now, Blackbeard is very self-centered. His effect does require you to make sure that his own attack is boosted by 500 times base, which in order to do that, you launch his special, of course, but just taking this into consideration, this is a little tricky to fulfill unless if you're using his special multiple times, which of course makes sense with his kit. And then he gives himself 1,000 base attack and reduce positive buffs. I like this because you can use this offensively to remove enemies' defensive effects, or you could use this defensively to reduce enemies' attack buffs or end of turn damage or anything like that. It's pretty awesome, and it means that if you bring other units to remove defensive effects, let's say it's a 5-turn buff on the enemy, but your special only removes it by 3 or 4 turns, you can use 1 or 2 super type specials to remove the additional 2 turns of the debuff. It's a pretty interesting ability that can be used in lots of different ways. So he gives himself a pretty good attack boost, and then gives you a pretty okay piece of utility. It's nothing crazy good, but it's just okay. I think it's middle of the road as well. Do I think it's better than Katakuri? I don't know. I think Katakuri's guaranteed delay is a little bit more useful. I know a lot of people say Blackbeard's super type effect is really good, and I think it is kind of useful, but there aren't too many instances that you're going to be using it. Dedicated going to be using it just for the utility effect. Most of the time you're using it for the attack buff. That's just the way it is, right? Now, speaking of Kid, I think Kid has a very good super type special. Just without looking, I'm going to put him in tier 1. I think Snake Man is definitely better in terms of a super type special. It'd be nice if I could actually move these artworks around. There we go. I think Snake Man is a bit better than Kid's, because Kid, you do need one of the supernovas, which is not too difficult to fulfill. 100 times fixed damage, by the way. Fixed damage AoE, and it goes through every defensive effect and also changes all orbs, including block, into bomb orbs. That's really good. AoE fixed damage plus a full board of slots, like not really much else to really talk about there. It's a freaking awesome super type special. Because remember, the enemy cannot interrupt that, so just getting orbs for free without the enemy interrupting you is freaking awesome, dude. So good. Not really much else I need to say there. Now let's talk about Hawkins. Hawkins, man, like the condition is really bad, because in order for the actual super type special can be activated, you need the enemy to activate an effect which procs one of your support effects. That's the way that it works. Once you do that, it reduces any damage you take above 500 for one turn, and that's it. I think it's like super similar to Katakuri's delay, but the thing is like you can use it to tank death hits. That's the only real difference, I feel. So this is probably how I would rank it right now. I think Hawkins is probably the bottom of tier 3. It's probably tier 4 now that I'm thinking about it. I think it's probably tier 4. I don't think it's that useful. Just it's super defensive, where Katakuri's is also ultra defensive, but you can use it in an offensive manner by applying a conditional boost on top of that, which I think is way more useful than just blocking damage. But obviously it can be used to tank death hits, and that's the only real difference I see between the two, and the condition is more harsh. We're moving on to Smoker now. Smoker, man, Smoker's is garbage. All he does is, in order to activate it, you need an attack or an orb boost on your team. Not that hard to do, so that's fine. But the actual effect itself is bad. It just extends the duration of attack and orb boost by 1. Not a fan of that, because it's not that useful. I mean, I've tried using Smoker in a lot of content, and I just don't like it. I think he's a terrible unit. I think the unit itself is bad. I think the super type special is bad. I think his captain ability is bad. His special is actually really good, and his support effect is really good. That's the only thing about Smoker that I actually like. But remember, we're talking about the super type effect, and his super type effect is not that useful. It is not good at all. I'm going to rank it down below in the garbage tier. On the other hand, though, we have Sugar, which her condition is actually pretty decent too. Dofi, Treble, Diamante, Pika, Monet, or Toy Bears. So because it just mentions Toy Bears, we kind of have to talk about the kit, of course, with her special just giving you the effect. So it's fine, and it gives you a 2.25 orb boost to 40 cost or less. This is really good. I'm going to rank this in tier 1. I think that Luffy Rainbow 2 times attack boost is more useful, and I feel like Kid's full board orb manipulation is actually more useful as well. This is probably the order that I would rank it in. I think it's, yeah, Snake Man, then Kid, and then Sugar. That's what I would rank the super type specials right now. Then we've got Boa, who is hands down probably the best super type effect in the game. A full board of slots and a 2.5 attack boost. The condition isn't that bad either. You just have to have an end of turn healing buff, which her special does, Vivi Rebecca does, Ivankov Bon Clay does. There's lots of really good units you can use with Boa that enable that effect. So that's really good. And yeah, just full board of slots, 2.5 attack boost to her color. Absolutely bonkers. Definitely the best. Let's talk about Odin. Odin, his condition is a little annoying because you do need a very specific unit on your team in order to proc it. So for him, he does require, you know, any one of those Wano type units, Roger or Whitebeard. The Wano type units aren't super amazing, unfortunately. There's no like god tier ones. There's a couple, like Colosseum Inu is pretty good. There's a couple Nekos that are good. Obviously the rare recruit versions of those guys. But then like there's rare recruit Raizo, Kizuna Okiku. Like there's a couple of them that you can use. Obviously Roger's broken. Edward Newgate. There's a couple of decent Whitebeards as well. But for what it does, 1000 base attack for one turn, which we saw obviously in another super type special a little earlier, and then gives himself a Wano slot. So personally, I think it's basically the same tier as the Blackbeard tier, but I think it's like better. I think it's just a much better super type special. because giving himself a Wano slot, now I do agree that it definitely could be a lot better. You know, only giving himself a Wano slot isn't that useful, but when you take into consideration his special and other effects you may activate, giving himself a Wano slot plus a 1000 base attack boost, plus you get super tight special on top of that, it actually gives you a lot of damage output, and I think it's actually kind of nice. I think it's definitely more useful than Blackbeard's. That's just the way that I see it. Do I think it's better than Katakuri's though? I guess technically you should probably put Blackbeard and Odin together. So you should probably do it like this, right? Where you have Katakuri, then Odin, then Blackbeard, because these two are very close and very similar in terms of their super tight specials. And they have differing conditions, obviously, but depending on the situation, I do think Odin's is slightly better. Then we've got Roger. Now, Roger, his condition is actually not too bad because there's lots of good units you can use with him, of course. So obviously you got Odin, you got Rayleigh, Whitebeard, Crocus, Shanks, Buggy, Inu, Neko, Ace. Pretty good array of characters, you know. So obviously you got like Shanks crew, Rare Recruit Crocus, there's a few good Rayleighs, of course, a couple of good Whitebeards, obviously Odin's nice, couple of good Buggies as well, and then the Rare Recruit Inu Neko, a couple of good Ace units you can use with him too, and it changes all orbs including block into matching and gives you an orb block. I think orb block is one of the most underrated mechanics in the game. I think it's ridiculously useful. In terms of where I would rank it, I do honestly think that it is better than Kids. Yeah, this is probably the order that I would choose. Roger, honestly, is very, very close to being the top of tier 1 for me. Obviously, if you take into consideration what he does as a character, he's really good because full board of slots, attack boost, etc. But in terms of on paper, just the super tight special, full board of slots plus all blocking them can be used with a lot of other characters, Shanks crew, a couple of good Rayleighs as we mentioned. I think it's ridiculously useful. Yeah, this is a good super type special. This is probably where I'd rank it right now for sure. This is really close though. This is like top of tier 1-ish in this realm, right? Very good super type special. Now we move on to the Halloween ones. Now, unfortunately, the Halloween units have like really annoying conditions because they like for specifically Mihawk, you need a Zoro unit or either the former or current Warlord characters. So sometimes can be a little bit annoying to build teams around that. Changes all orbs into matching, does not get rid of block orbs, and adds 1000 base attack to his own damage for 1 turn. So it basically adds 2 million damage with tap timing to himself, and a full board of orbs that does not go through block orbs. I think this is a pretty good special as well. I also think this is tier 1. I think this is like bottom of this tier, if I could just move these icons around. Yeah, this is probably where I'd rank it right now. I think the full board of slots is really nice. As you can see, I definitely prioritize orb manipulation because obviously it cannot be manipulated in any way because it's a super type special. Plus, he adds himself 2 million damage with tap timing, which is okay. But of course, normal attacks only negates that, which is a bit of a problem. So even though if you do get block orbs or something, you do have to find a way to get rid of that, which is annoying. But even still, I do think having the ability to just generate slots, which you can lock with the Megalo ship because you're using an int captain, I think it's really useful to have. So I do think it's a tier 1 worthy effect. Obviously, lots of tier 1s. I do think Boa is just like head and shoulders above in terms of how good it is, though. Laws, on the other hand, is very similar in terms of condition because it needs one of the former or current Warlords, or you can use Luffy instead. But all it does is it gives you a 50% heal. That's all it does. Like, on paper, this actually is not a good effect, and I can understand, I know there's going to be lots of lore fanboys out there that hate me for saying it's a bad super tight special. On paper, it actually is. But if you take into consideration the rest of his abilities, yes, this is a good super tight special for this character. But on paper, I don't think it's actually that useful. So honestly, I'm going to rank him probably above Hawkins. That's where I would probably rank this character, in around this tier here. I definitely don't think it's garbage. A 50% heal that cannot be interrupted is useful, but that's about where I'd rank it, honestly. I don't think it should go any higher than that. It's okay on paper, but for his kit, obviously, very good. Next is Shanks. Now, man, this is an annoying super type special because the condition, Luffy and Mihawk is, you know, that's acceptable, but then Beckman, Yasop, and Lucky Root, and that's such an annoying condition, man, like to actually use that. And then it changes all those orbs into matching, and then reduces defense by 100% for 3 turns. That does not go through immunity or anything. Just because the condition is quite harsh, and the effect that you get out of it is just very slight orb manipulation and a defense reduction. I mean, honestly, it's probably like bottom of tier 3. That's what I would rank it. Just the condition really hurts it for Shanks, unfortunately. It's a really, really big downer. So I think I'd put him in the bottom of tier 3 in terms of his super type special. just annoying condition and an effect that doesn't help out that much, honestly speaking. Next we have the Germa Double 6. Okay, Germa Double 6, I think this is a really good super type special. The condition is very easy. Sanji, Luffy, Nami, Chopper, Brook, Jinbei, Carrot, not a problem there. Super type special, 1.25 chain multiply boost and an ore block. Honestly, I think it's just a better version of Sabo's effect, because they both do the chain multiply boost. Sabo gives you tap timing bonus, this guy's ore blocking. And as I said, I do think ore blocking is a relatively underrated ability. If you take into consideration something else that you can do, you can bring ore manipulators. Obviously, this unit himself does do ore manipulation as well. I do think Germa super type special is like really solid. I think it's a really good effect. 1.25 times chain multiply boost is ridiculously useful to have. However, moving past that, we do have the Sweet Commanders, which their condition is annoying, having to use one of the Charlotte family members, which there's a couple of good units. Yeah, for sure, there's a couple of good ones here. Still annoying nonetheless. But then it does 100 times his damage, and it doesn't mention it here, but it is fixed damage. It goes through damage negating abilities and barriers, and gives your strength characters -1 cooldown. I think this is like bottom of tier 4. This is like super average. Obviously, you can use it for speed farming. I understand that. Really good for speed farming in that circumstance, I suppose. But like just giving you -1 cooldown, the only other instances where that's going to be useful is if like the enemy reduces your cooldowns, like gives you special reverse. In that instance, yeah, that can be nice just to have a piece of utility like that. Personally speaking, just from looking at it, I don't think personally I can rank this higher than tier 4. I just don't think it's a relatively useful effect. I don't think it's garbage by any means, because it definitely has its uses. I just think that smokers in general is just bad. This is not a very useful super type special, honestly. But let's have a look at the other two characters which are not released on global yet. We have V3 Zoro and Kaido. So Zoro's effect requires you to have Hiyori, Toko, or a Straw Hat character, so no issues there. 75 times attack and type damage to all enemies. Boost color affinity of Dex by 2 times in 1 turn. That is really good. This is definitely a tier 1 for sure super type special. Where would I rank it though? That is the question. That is the question at hand. This is about where I'd rank it, I think. So I'm going to put Zoro just below Kid, because I think the full board ore manipulation is really good, that cannot be interrupted. This guy giving 2 times color affinity to his class, to his color is ridiculously good. The AoE damage is also really, really nice as well. 2 times color affinity is ridiculous. I think the attack boost is way more important though. Color affinity obviously only really works when you have type advantage. And, you know, in that instance, you know, if you're going to be using Zoro, most likely you're going to be versing quick content in some capacity. So I think, yeah, realistically, it is a good effect. And the condition is not a problem either, which is really, really nice. Now, next we got Kaido. So let's have a look at what Kaido's effect is. Kaido's condition, you have to be below 50%. That's not an issue. And it does 2 million fixed damage to one enemy and reduces Rainbow Shield and Threshold by 2 turns. Okay, so this is like the first super type special that we've seen. I guess kind of Blackbeard would kind of fall in that line. That's more utility based. I like that actually. A more utility based super type special. On paper, I do think it's a tier 2 effect. Do I think it's top of tier 2? It's pretty close, because it does require the enemy to actually have that debuff in the first place, or that buff on them in the first place. You can use it in a lot of other instances where if you're running double Kaido, that means you can remove 4 turns of not blue shield, but Rainbow Shield and Threshold. That's pretty nice. Or if you're using him, you can use like another 3-turn remover to remove up to 5 turns of effects with a relatively older rare recruit style unit. That could be useful. So it is interesting that it's more utility based, and it does do 2 million fixed damage to one enemy. That's also like kind of nice. I don't know where to rank this actually. This is like the only super type special that's like super utility based compared to the other ones that we've had. I think I'm just going to put him at the bottom of tier 2. I think that the chain multiply boosts are a little bit more useful to have. But I think overall, this is about where I would rank all the super type specials. I feel like V3 Boas is like head and shoulders above every other super type special that we've seen. A full board of orbs plus an attack boost is ridiculous. Obviously, the unit itself, it doesn't do any of those boosts, so that's the give and take of that. But remember, we are ranking just the super type specials by themselves, and because of that, this is what we've come up with. You know, I think if you're going to make any changes, maybe Law, if you like the healing a little bit more. Katakuris could move up or down depending on how heavy you weigh the delay that he has. And I'm not really too sure or too certain on Kaido's utility that he has. But I think all of the ones in tier 1, I'm pretty happy about them. I think all of these super type specials are really useful to have. And these are characters that I've definitely used before, aside from Zoro, of course. Especially, I've used a lot of Mihawk recently, and I think the super type special is super underrated. And a lot of people don't understand how good this character actually is. Halloween Mihawk's ridiculously good. But that's about it. So leave your thoughts and opinions about this down below in the comment section. Obviously, this is not meant to be a super serious video, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you guys did, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.